Welcome back to Show and Tell. I'm Billie. If it's dark on this side, it's because the sun is setting. I just had things that I wanted to share with you, and the spirit moved me. So here I am. Yes, I am wearing a finished object, 7 years in the making. Let me stand up so you can get the full view. I want to be able to be far enough away for you to see the bottom of it. There is a little bit of ribbing at the bottom, which gives it a nice stripe. I went back and I redid the V-neck, not redid it, but I opened up what I had previously bound off, and I got a part of the yarn where these neps were closer together so that I could get something that was like deeper blue here. And then the yarn is self-striping, but the way this sweater is knit, it's called the V-back tee. It's designed so that the stripes go on an angle, which I thought would be a better look for me than horizontal stripes. Let me turn around and show you the back. So the saga of this sweater is I started it in 2019. I don't know if I told you this before. I was on my way to California and I had seen this yarn in another colorway at one of the local yarn shops in New York. And I didn't like the colorway, but I liked the concept of the yarn. This is the yarn. This is all I have left, actually. In this particular piece, those blue dots are spaced, I would say that's about 4 inches apart. But in some areas, those dots get closer together. Some areas, they're further apart. And it keeps changing. I can tell by looking at this that these are spaced out a lot because you see a lot of the light blue. You don't see a lot of the darker blue. When you see a lot of dark blue all around, that means that they're closer together. I did kind of cut the yarn up and reserved the parts where the little polka dotty things were spaced closer together so I could get this. And with ribbing, it accentuates it even more. So I kind of tried to do that around here, around the arms. That's ribbed too. And then the bottom, as I mentioned. It's a cotton tape by Lang. It's 95 degrees in New York today. Totally comfortable. It doesn't feel like it would bother me if I was outside. So I'm really happy with it. What took me so many years was I went on this trip to California, I started it, and then I found the neckline, which I knit according to the pattern, was too wide and it was kind of slipping off my shoulders. So I redid the sweater with a smaller needle. And I think also I reduced the stitch count. I kept playing with it until I got it to be kind of the scale that I wanted it to be. Because this yarn could have a lot of play, cotton stretches out. And I was experiencing that. But what I found was if I went really down on the needle size and I got a pretty tight gauge, it's fitting. It's not sloshing around on me, even though it's got a lot of positive ease here. Up in here, it's really fitted. And that is exactly what I was going for. I think if it was bigger all over, it would be overwhelming for me. I'm finding that things that fit really snugly through here are a better silhouette for my body shape. So this was a project that I pulled out after years of it being at the bottom of a bin to work with the group that I'm doing the UFO cow with. If you haven't seen those episodes, Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern time, I'm meeting on Zoom with a group of other knitters, and the group changes from week to week. You are very welcome to join us. The link to that Zoom will be in the show notes to this show. You can find it on previous episodes also. If you are in the camp of having things that are languishing and you need a little help getting motivated or maybe to just get nudged out of some inertia. It's very hard. It's very hard to pick up something that you haven't worked on for years. You forget where you are in the pattern. Maybe you forget what needle size you were using. And once you're in the throes of knitting something, you get a certain momentum going. And when you stop, you really lose that momentum. And it's hard to get back in that groove. But my hope and desire is that being surrounded by other knitters who are in the same camp, that we support one another and motivate one another to pick it up and do it. So far, I finished this. One of the other people is pretty much finished a sweater that had 9 pieces. She put away for quite a while. She didn't know how to connect the pieces and brought to our group several different possibilities, sought input from others, and just stayed the course. And now she's down to the point of putting the clasps on. It's mostly all assembled. So check that out. Come over and join us on Thursday nights. So, of course, you know that I have no shortage of whips. Actually, the number is decreasing, and I hope by the end of the summer that I'll have several more, not just 1 or 2 more, but maybe several more completed. As I noted in the conversation we had on the UFO Cal most recent episode, on Ravelry, I have marked several different sweaters as between 90 and 95% complete. So it's just that last little bit of the race to get me over the finish line where I'm kind of dawdling. But, and Emma, here's a little snippet for you. I am getting close to finishing the sleeves of For the Rink or the Lynx. I had cast one off just to see if the shape was right and if I had enough depth here to fit into the arm side. And I quickly found I didn't. But I put a marker here. That's where I bound off. This just was not enough to make an appropriate sleeve cap for this distance on me. So I undid my bind off, put the stitches back on the needle. I still had the other sleeve working. These are my 2 sleeves that I'm knitting 2 at a time because I think it's just the smartest way to go. I'm back and forth, in and out. I want to make sure that they are moving at the same rate. So I think this was a smart thing to do. It seems to be taking forever, even though I'm decreasing 1 stitch at the beginning of each row. The decrease it's happening, but it's not happening fast enough. And, with every few rows, the bobbin situation changes. So you'll see on the back, I have still, quite a few bobbins hanging here. I'm on a row now that involves all 3 colors. So I have these red bobbins, I have the brown bobbins, and I have the peachy color bobbins. It's a lot. It's a lot. I must say I will be elated when this is finished. I did start to tackle weaving in some of the ends because that too is daunting. There's a lot. Of course, having all this solid color ribbing is a godsend because no ends to weave in there. But, there's still some work here. I'm getting there. I have marked off the number of stitches. This little stitch marker and this little stitch marker, the stitches in between are the final count that will be bound off after I do the decreases. So I'm still going to get up a little bit more than this. As I said, I am nearing the finish line. It could be another week or so. I don't know. It's really hard. Once I finished this, I went immediately to working on this, and I'm trying not to have any diversions. The pink sweater, if I really am trying to read subtitles on a film, this is too complicated for me to work on, I'll go to the pink sweater. If I'm on the subway, I'm going to the pink sweater. This is a little bit too much, especially because it's wool. It's very hot out, very sticky out. So I'm really restricting myself to working on this at home for now. And it's getting there. It is getting there. And I'm trying not to do any of the other UFOs until I finish this. I'm just going to try and tick them off one at a time. I'm trying to stay the course on this to get yet another project completed. This sweater, just to backtrack a little bit, it was almost done. It was just a matter of doing a little bit more at the bottom, but until I got back in the swing of it, it just seemed like, I didn't want to look at it. And I knew it had been put away for so long. Just taking it out and addressing it was more than half the battle. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I'm going to show you about knitting. Yeah, the pink I've made a little progress on, but I'll save that for another time. What I mainly wanted to show you today are some of my acquisitions. They're not yarn, but they're interesting objects. A friend of mine lost her sister, and the sister's apartment was quite large and packed, I mean, really packed with all different kinds of things. And as I was helping to clear out the apartment so that she could stop paying rent on it, I would come across things and she would say, "Oh, if you like that, you can have it." Well, I ended up, of course, giving her some money because some of these things I know are valuable. These beads, pretty sure they're sterling silver. This very interesting spoon. Let me hold it against the dark so you can see. There's cutouts in this spoon. Okay, it's silver plate. It's not sterling silver solid. So it's not super, super valuable. Things like this are, they're not fetching a lot of money at flea markets and so forth. But I tried to figure out, well, what kind of spoon would have these little holes? My first thought was because it has like a fleur-de-lis motif. I thought maybe if you were sprinkling powdered sugar on top of a cake, you could get that design. But it seems to be a berry spoon so that the juice of the berries will drain out and not make a mess. In any event, I just thought it was an object of great beauty. The scallops here, see, it's not, the bowl of it is not smooth. It's got these indentations going around. It's just a lovely, lovely thing. I also came across this little box, but inside was this, which I recognized from restringing pearls once. This is a very special needle and probably silk thread that goes through beads. And in here are the directions. It says directions for operating the post, bead stringer, and knot tire. So it tells you how to use this device. At first, I thought it was a tuning fork. First, tie a knot large enough on one end of bead cord so it will not slip through the hole in your clasp. Then pass the beading needle through the hole in clasp, pulling cord through. This closes eye of needle. Now pass the needle behind the tying pin. That must be this, the tying pin. I don't know. I guess I would have to do it to really understand, but somehow this gets your beads to have just the right measurement in between them so that they're not too tightly strung or too loosely strung. That's my guess. I don't have any immediate plans to string beads, but I just thought this was like a cool thing that nobody else was going to buy. She had a huge box of buttons. I picked through, they weren't the kind of buttons that I saw myself using. But when I saw this little special box and I opened it and I saw these, and there's a bunch of little buttons in here. Let me hold one up. You can see that. It's a little enamel. I'll put a picture. That's the best way for you to see it. There's like a little diamond shape in white with teensy little flowers, and then there's like burgundy on the sides. It's almost like a Fabergé kind of a thing, and there's a lot of them. 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 10 of them, and they still have the little burgundy thread. I don't know what they were on, but I thought, oh, it's just such a sweet little button. Someday I'll find some use for it, even if it's just as a decoration on a sweater. I don't know. I don't have a plan in mind. Okay, here's another interesting object. The place was just filled with all sorts of cool stuff. This is a measuring device, 6 inches, and then it has these little notches because you can slide this. The notches are the exact place where an inch ends. It says sewing and knitting gauge. I think this is like if you wanted to measure a hem for like pants. I had to hem some pants for my son recently, and I used this to move it around and put my pins in so that it was even all the way around. I don't know how I would use this for knitting, although I guess just have that 4-inch thing and then just see one. I don't know. Um, it it does have centimeters on the bottom, and it says that it's made in China, but it seems very antique to me. I love little gadgets, especially things that don't take up any space. Perfect. Now, this woman did not crochet or knit, but she had some little implements. I found this bundle of crochet hooks. These are the type of crochet hooks that I already have collected. They're minuscule, some of them. Like this could take somebody's eye out easily. This one right here, it's like the size of a pinhead. This one is even smaller. This one. I could prick my finger with this. See it? It's really teeny tiny. So I had to have those. I also found this darling little box with a handwritten label. I've seen patterns by Bucilla yarns. This is bone crochet hooks made in France. And it's written article 3873, 1 dozen, size 8. When I opened it up, I found these. They're all the same. Why she had an entire box of these, I don't know. At first, I thought they might be ivory, but the box says that they're bone. So I may never use these, but I just thought they're so lovely looking. I know I needed this like a hole in the head, but they just have this charm to me because they're vintage. She also had two fantastic sewing boxes that she is looking to sell. I think I put a picture of one of them on a previous episode. She let me raid them a little bit. I needed purple thread and I also was out of black thread. She had snaps, like vintage snaps. And this person cut them off of probably like a big card. And there were hooks and eyes. And I thought, never know when I might need something like that. I don't need a lot. I just took a few, just in case. Now, this woman loved to clip articles that she someday hoped to read. Unfortunately, she didn't live long enough to read the stacks and stacks of articles that she had put aside. But her sister passed this on to me, thinking that I might be interested in it. It's from Women's Day, June 1955. There were a series of Currier and Ives prints like this, printed in the magazine. And then this little article by John McNulty. I'm going to read it to you. It's short. They pictured the thrilling story of America. Introducing Mr. Currier and Mr. Ives, printmakers extraordinary to the 19th century public. And there's a little picture of these guys. It seems to be true, whether we're young or old, that it can be pleasant to have a little of the past always with us, so that we'll never be wholly alone. Perhaps we're so young that the past can be pleasurably brought back to us by a glimpse into the yearbook of our high school class only a decade or so ago. Or perhaps we're older, and snapshots in an album of personal scenes and people 40 years ago recall seemingly happier days to us. It makes no difference. To all of us, there is quiet enjoyment in moments of looking backward. I wish I had the ability to write like that, because it's really my sentiments that I'm nostalgic and I love looking back and I love looking at things that are old, like these little crochet hooks, like these little buttons, like these beauties, and this spoon, and the statue that came from my cousin Ruth, and this cut crystal bowl and vase, and a bunch of other pieces that came from my great grandmother, Fanny. And therein lies the reason why I love to knit from vintage patterns. Looking back in time is fascinating to me. I hope it is to you as well. Come back, more episodes to come. One more thing before I leave you. I will insert here some of my meanderings around Manhattan in recent days, at least since I last saw you. Discovered a very unusual shop and the blooming of my friend's flower called Midnight Bloom. Totally fascinating. Blooms for only one night, and then in the morning it's finished. I had some shorts about it, but I'll try and put a little longer string of things here for you to see. That's it for now. Take care. A friend showed me this most unusual flower shop. I want to take you in. still sort of outside a little shed. These things are hanging from the ceiling. Dried flowers, little terraria, incense, souvenirs from all kinds of countries. Exotic music playing. It's really quite the New York experience. Oh, look at how beautiful these flowers are in the refrigerator. Just wouldn't expect it. I'm in Alphabet City. Gotta have your cannabis here. Rocks, crystals, whatever. Dream catchers. Got it all. I'm going to try and hold this as still as I can to see if we can see the movement. I do believe that these petals are starting to curl in. Yes, I'm moving a little bit, but if you can pick a point on the petal and its relationship to a green leaf, this dimension in there, maybe you'll be able to see it moving in relationship to that. I'm not on a tripod, so I'm not as still as I would like to be. I don't know, it sure seems to me like these are closing in. It's so subtle. This is just a couple minutes later. I think those central petals are really separating from the petals that are standing up. Sort of closing in. It seems to be going faster. Am I the only one who's fascinated by this? Right here, that leaf is growing out of this leaf. When did you ever see that happen? It's very, very unusual. Here's the stem of that flower. It comes out of this leaf. It's now 1:45 a.m. Can you see the change from the last series of shots? I'm gonna be back tomorrow with more.